Hey guys, and welcome back once again to Dragons Dogma 2 and the Things You Didn't Know series. I'm back for more weird, interesting, and useful details to be aware of that I've learned since last time. As always, thanks to everyone who makes suggestions in the comments, as well as great members of the community posting things online, YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, and so on. We'll be crediting whatever we can, whenever we can, as always. So let's begin. First up, a couple things for the new patch, which introduced some gameplay improvements, little quality of life stuff that largely tied to pawns. With that patch, pawns have finally stopped throwing themselves off ledges randomly. Just kidding, they're still doing it, and it seems even more than normal. Credit to Decoy Shark on Reddit for posting this classic clip just to show how bad they are with ledges currently. Even one that's obvious that he stopped sprinting at, this pawn runs straight off the side. No Griffin this time, I guess. It seems they're doing it even more though, at least in various people's cases. I'm not sure how they messed this one up. It's funny, but you might want to be extra careful until probably a hot fix happens where they actually fix this. If you're sprinting near a ledge, your pawns are probably going to go off the side. Also with that patch, you can now change your pawn inclination at the Pawn Guild for so much cheaper. It's now 750 RC compared to the previous very high 2000 RC of before. It's just meant that basically in the opening bit of the game, you couldn't really use this feature all that much or at all. It was way too expensive for what it was. Not until maybe mid to late game where, you know, that amount of RC is semi-regularly spent without a problem. In any case, it's a welcome little update, just be aware of it. And if you're unaware, inclinations can cause interesting behavior in your pawns. If you've never messed with it, simple pawns are probably the most fun overall with neat dialogue, interactions, they're quite cute. You can even play catch with them if you throw some animals at them. It's cool. Now, speaking of inclinations, did you know that straightforward pawns will actually warn enemies about a major spell that you're currently charging up, which, you know, is meant to give them a chance to reassess and run away? I was made aware of that by a post on Reddit by the user Thorn of Your Side, who noticed their pawns calling out these things when they were attacking a town. As someone explained in the comments, pawns actually try not to harm humans, and I can see that being a very reasonable thing if you, the player, the Arisen, have just decided to attack townspeople or something. This only seems to happen when you're attacking townspeople in general, so it's a nice little detail about inclinations. Specifically the straightforward ones are, you know, trying to avoid this conflict. The little details of inclinations are usually overly subtle, so it's nice to see something other than simple getting something unique about it. Next up though, it's time to talk Myrddin, the sorcerer master who can teach you the Maelstrom master skill if you complete his quest. That's the tornado spell. Myrddin has some interesting details that I want to talk about today. It's actually quite the character. For example, just like any relevant NPC, once you raise your affinity with him to the point that he'll actually offer you escort quests, I believe he wants you to take him to Vernworth. But much like any escort, that means you're going to enjoy a 5th party member for a little while. Some of them are really strong. Myrddin though seems to be the strongest escort NPC you can get in the game, as shown here by Reddit user Constant Wolverine 1, who brought Myrddin to the tower, you know, the final event of the game, ended up challenging the dragon, and Myrddin and the whole party came with him to fight the dragon. Myrddin has a unique version of Maelstrom, but yeah, like a high version as we'll call it, which decimates. As you can see, he channels out a Maelstrom ability as normal, but suddenly on release, the dragon is instantly defeated. Literally 100% of its many health bars are deleted. There's no time for impact or even animations though, because the cinematic will simply trigger immediately the moment the dragon dies. People have taken him to the Sphinx and experienced much the same. He's genuinely busted. So if you're wondering about raising affinity with anyone, I think Myrddin might be the most valuable one to do. If you ever get the chance, do bring him with you and you'll probably enjoy some very easy fights for a while. But there's more to this on this Myrddin topic today. This is to do with his master skill quest, where you need to give him 5, but actually 3, of the unique grimoires around the world. What's funny obviously is one of them comes from his own collection. You can go outside, jump on his balcony and steal it and then give it to him. However, as you likely know, there's also his daughter elsewhere who requests the same books. This is how you get the meteor skill, but this means you'll need to collect all of them to manage both, because yeah, you can just give 3 of them rather than the full 5, and there's enough to do that. To save time though, the common alternative to that is to just forge copies and give the forged versions to Myrddin, which is so much easier. It's the most common method to beat this quest. Just get 3 real books, make 3 fake versions, and then the fake ones go to Myrddin and the real ones go to the daughter. I figured Myrddin doesn't need the real ones, maybe he's just collecting them, but the daughter is obviously trying to learn real magic, so she needs the real books. However, as it turns out, Myrddin knows you're giving him fake books, and I never knew about that because I handed all 3 into him at once. If you give him 1 fake book at a time instead of multiple, he comments on the fact that you've just given him a fake. It would seem that he acknowledges your effort to find them, but unfortunately you just fell for a fake, which suggests that while Myrddin is quite mean directly, I guess this is an indirect way to show that maybe he's not so bad of a guy. He still teaches you the master teaching, even if he knows that all the books you've given him are fake. But why? Maybe, like I say, he appreciates the effort, even though you messed it up, and is still going to teach you anyway. Or perhaps he accepts that you must have found the real ones, to then be able to give him these fake ones you forged. And that could just very well be good enough for him. Obviously, he doesn't need the real ones in any case, just some subtle storytelling. It's pretty cool. The last thing I want to mention though from Myrddin is actually the name. It turns out that Myrddin is in fact Welsh from Merlin, the mythical mage from the legend of King Arthur. I want to credit the Reddit user Enix for this one. They made this quick post talking about this translation under the whole Myrddin one-shots the final boss thing. So great spot. There's no accident that our DD2 character, Myrddin, aka Merlin, is this incredibly powerful and aware character that we meet. He is our world's Merlin, as it turns out, and I just think that's a really cool concept. The guy could probably just solve all the world problems himself. Don't really need us Arisen to defeat the dragon, evidently. I would have liked it though, with that in mind, if they'd included him in the main story in some interesting ways, rather than him being, just a side character for the sorcerer quests. Still, pretty cool details around him. Next up, a quick and useful trick in your new playthroughs, likely when you're doing a new game plus run. This comes from the comments of the series. Thank you to AJB0586. AJB tells us that when we need to speak to NPCs at a specific time, there's actually a cool trick you can do to get around that. There's a few NPCs that need you to meet them at those set times, right? Most commonly known will be Captain Bran. He shows up in a specific spot in the tavern on the balcony, but he only shows up there at night. So if you want to progress his story and his quests, you need to actually meet him at night, so he'll have to sleep or wait. As it turns out, you can entirely ignore that mechanic when an NPC requests something like that. The time doesn't matter at all. It's simply the case that once the time changes to that point, they'll go to the location and wait for you, which does mean you can run up and grab them and physically bring them to the place you're supposed to meet. Even if you do that in daytime with Bran, for some reason, it just works. As long as they're in the right place, they don't actually care about the time. You can find Brant usually by the guards' quarters near the entrance of the city, if you ever need to progress something with him, and just move him to the tavern. Another example of that, as AJB mentioned, there's the beggar and that side quest. Normally you'd need to follow him once he leaves the statue spot, but you can instead grab him and bring him to the common quarter, bring him to his home in the middle of the day instead, and that'll progress that. That's just a very clever, useful trick, AJB, so thank you for sharing that one. Finally, for the episode though, a very quick reference to something I've already talked about. In the last episode, I was showing something with lifts and casting while on them. You might awkwardly go up in the air and fall down, and by chance when I was doing that recording, I fell and was attacked by some wolves. As I've shown in this series, you can drop meat near enemies like this, wolf or dog type enemies. It even works on the bigger garms. It just works. You drop the meat and then they're drawn to it like a taunt effect. They'll even be fully CC'd while they just eat it. They won't fight back while you attack them. So if you kill them quick enough while they're trying to eat, the meat won't even be consumed and you can pick it back up again and use it again. The best part of this is that you can use rotten meat, which is usually worth a lot less, right? But is in fact incredible for this type of mechanic. But yeah, I talked about it not too long ago. It just seems a lot of people didn't see that episode. There was a surprising amount of people shocked when I showed that casually in the background of that footage. So I figured I better mention it just quickly at the end here as a bonus. But there you have it, guys. Another quick episode of things you might not have known in Dragons Dogma 2. Again, a big thank you to the people getting involved in the comments. I've actually got a lot of stuff to look through for the next little bit. So it's been very encouraging to see, even more suggestions than normal on the last video. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.